Hey, what's up, everyone? It's 2 p.m. Tuesday, PST, which means it's time for The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly hangout where we talk about video games. Here's always Peter Brown.
Peter Standard Time?
Is that what the new acronym is?
Is that what PST stands for?
What's EST? Ethan Standard Time.
Yeah, there you go.
Now we just need to hire an Ethan and we'll bring him on The Lobby. That is not Ethan. That's Aaron Sampson with us.
Currently not on the East Coast.
Or Ethan.
Not
but
on
yeah.
Ethan time.
Pete, what have you been up to? What's on your docket today?
Today, waiting for games to come in. What I've been up to is I have my little 12-year-old nephew in the office, and that kid is really rad, and had a lot of fun.
How'd the swear jar go?
We're allowed to say shit around him. The F word, not so much, but...
Wait, there are allowed swear words around your nephew?
I base what I say off my sister, who's pretty strict about what can and can't happen, and apparently that's cool to fly. No
I have
deal.
like 7 or 8 nieces and nephews now, and I never remember not to swear. They're going to have an extensive vocabulary by the time they're like 6.
For the record, anytime there's a kid in the office, there's a blanket warning for everybody not to be their usual selves.
Right.
Yeah, because like all of us are awful people.
Truly.
Yeah, myself included. But Aaron, we brought you on because you are the resident Division expert of the office, a game that has undergone many changes since March when it released. It's like almost totally different now.
Yeah. Division just released their survival DLC on their public test server, only on PC and only on Uplay for the moment. Yeah. That's how they tested their 1.4 patch. That game's super interesting because like survival fixes a lot of things that the core game got wrong, in my opinion. Although it is standalone, it's actually something you do and then you come back to the core game and get loot. But like the core game of the Division was always a game that everything in the game screamed at you like this is a survival game, but nothing in the game was survival.
Yeah. Right.
There was just all of this extra stuff you collected, and it gave you buffs against NPCs, or like you had all this random clothing that wasn't really all that interesting and didn't have any stats like a normal RPG would. So in survival, you get dropped in clean with like none of your gear onto the core map. It's the whole map. And your goal is to make it to the dark zone and get extracted. So you can play with 24 other players against the environment, or you can play against 24 other players.
Sure, and this also like comes on the heels of update 1.4, which we brought you on to talk about on the lobby as well a month or 2 ago, which that was like a lot of quality of life improvements. It made leveling up your gear and your the loot system more rewarding and useful in the long run, right? And then that survival mode got delayed because of that. They wanted to make sure that stuff rolled out to make the game like more playable before they released this. But this sounds like you were just saying, it sounds very much more like, because the main appeal for me, and I think Pete, me and you always talk about this, the Division is kind of appealing to me because of its world. I really like that, like, you know, Christmas time, post-apocalyptic Manhattan, but the game never grabbed me. I've only played like 2 hours of it total. And every time something like this comes out, it makes me want to, it brings me back in potentially, and this kind of survival bent seems like the thing that could pull me in. So like, you played it on PTR, right? And it's available only through Uplay right now.
Yeah, on their public test service.
What did you think about it overall?
It's interesting. Also, like I came off playing a bunch of King of the Kill before a lot of the AAA titles came out, so I have like another good sort of survivor shooter to compare it to.
For King of the Kill, what is that? Just for
H1Z1 standalone. You start in an 8-kilometer square zone. You all end up and you scavenge your way to the middle and then kill each other.
Right.
So, like, one of the interesting things you have to look at in a game on the PvP version of survival is player density. And I think that's something they're going to have to mess with a little bit because, like, in a survival game, you want people to have to worry about the environment and have enough player encounters to be scary, but not so many that it's pointless and you'll just die right away, right?
Right.
And that player density per area is really important. You can also play this just with other players again, so you don't have to worry about that aspect of it. But it's interesting because I think the loot in the game was slightly better, and the NPCs were slightly harder when you were just playing against the environment. So they've balanced it both ways. Although in the overall game world, you get more points for playing against other players. So you're contending with things that the core game should have had you always contending with, like. It's a virus-ravaged city, and you never had to worry about in the first game. You're just like, whatever, like...
You were just immune automatically.
Sticking rusty nails in your arms and, like, picking up guns and licking them halfway through the game. Like, it just...
How did you play this game?
This reminds me of Mad Max in a lot of ways, both in the just the activities you've described, but also, like, the disconnect between, like, wait, how am I supposed to be able to survive in this? Like, it's hard to imagine how you can actually capture that So, like, could this survival mode somehow be integrated into the main game, or do you think that that's just like so impossible at this stage?
To me, it's a reimagining of the core game in a weird way. Like I would love it if they would port this into the core game itself, but you might get rid of the people who are just there for the loot grind because you're adding a lot of extra survival elements such as viral infection, hunger, thirst, having to worry about a lot more things than just, I know, like, again, Eric Tate plays these games the opposite of the way that I do.
Yeah, min-maxing and whatnot.
It's just he goes for the most efficient run for the most loot in any given session, right? So survival is more about the experience of the world. You're in a blizzard, you're freezing to death, and you're trying to make it to a goal without dying. And everything is trying to kill you, including your own health. Your own health bar at some point starts taking a hit. You can start freezing to death. You can starve and then not be able to regenerate your health. So it's not like a new genre or anything, but I think it's kind of what it's what the original idea of the Division was.
That's what the world calls for.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, am I right in assuming that like enemy placement each time is procedural, or are like set spots where enemies are going to come out? Because what you described to me earlier sounds like something that has an interesting risk-reward factor where I get dropped in by the helicopter. I think the helicopter crashes at the beginning. That justifies why you're like kind of fighting toward the center. You're infected. You're battling cold. I know Gear has like the cold rating, or the warmth rating, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there'd be an interesting risk-reward, like you mentioned earlier when we were talking about this. Like, you're in this firefight, and like each minute that passes during this firefight, if you're not killing these guys and moving on, you're going to start to panic because if you're like, you might be doing well against these guys, but they're taking too long. So then the cold is just going to start eating at you. But then you also have to contend with thirst, which affects your vision, I think you're saying, which that's going to make the firefights harder. Is there an interesting kind of risk-reward angle to spending time in certain areas as opposed to just, rushing through and risking the fact that you might not have the good enough gear to fight the harder NPCs toward the center of the map?
Yeah, I love how intentional all of your decisions suddenly become in the game. Like before, you were just aimlessly running through, like, for no reason, just running from point A to point B. Here, you have to chart your route. It's like, I know that there's fire here, here, and here. I know there's a safe house there. I've got enough thermal protection to make it. So that's set. But halfway through that, I run into NPCs. It's what you said. How cold am I? How hungry am I? Like, how much health do I have in reserve? And then there's other cool things, like the shield in the game was always useless, but suddenly when you can't regenerate your health because you're starving, having the shield ability blocks a lot of the incoming damage, so it becomes a significant piece of gear that was not significant previously. So and because you have limited resources and you have to craft all of these things, including your own abilities, it just becomes a much more intentional game and takes a lot more planning for you to get places.
It seems like it kind of requires you to be much more proactive pretty much every step of the way rather than just kind of letting things happen throughout your time in this world. And that's what interests me because at the same time, it's really cool how far the Division has come, at least like from what you've said and from what I've read. I saw this like long form story somewhere recently about the behind the scenes and how much work Ubisoft has continued to put into it. But at the same time, it's also kind of indicative of the problem a lot of people have now with like early access games or just games getting released and then, like the criticism that they're not complete. They're just releasing them incompletely and then, patching them afterward. I don't know. Where do you fall in this? Like, I mean, it sounds like you're enjoying the game more now than you did, like multitudes more than you did in March, right? And it sounds like something I would enjoy more. Again, I can't speak to it because I haven't played it much, but I don't know. Where do you fall on the game being like really engaging and fun to play now as opposed to March? Like, I don't know. Like, does it feel like this is what the Division was supposed to be?
This is the first time that I've enjoyed DLC in the Division, to be honest. Like, Underground was basically just a loot factory for players, which was cool. Like, players needed loot. Incursion, they should have just called a room. I thought that was a really kind of half-assed attempt. Like, the first time you got into an incursion and you're like, oh, I'm in the room, and this is where the whole thing happens. That's kind of lame. So this is the first time they've actually tried to reimagine the game in an interesting way. And it's probably safe that it's a separate experience and that you come back to the core world of the game afterwards with loot, depending on how you did. But I think for people who enjoyed the single-player portion of the game, who hated the Dark Zone, and who were not into the loot grind necessarily, this is what I would consider the first piece of new content for them. The first new single-player expansion. Even though, to be fair, it's on the same map, but the Blizzard makes it feel kind of new again.
And you said that you yourself would recommend people play this alone and not against 24 other players.
I would definitely start with the PvE section. With the PvP section, people can still team up, and I think you'll run into the same problems you do in the Dark Zone, where you just get stomped with no hope of winning. There's no real good balance in this game.
Yeah.
That was one thing Destiny did really well out of the gate, was make sure that their PvP was balanced, regardless of how good you were outside of their core, like some of their core modes you have to voluntarily go to. But when the end game of the Division was a place that you just went and got annihilated with no hope, I think that's why a lot of players left.
Sure.
So you have the choice here of going to essentially what amounts to a Dark Zone and not get annihilated by other players,
Right.
which I think is a better experience for the people who hated the original Dark Zone.
Right. Yeah. It comes out kind of almost at a time when I would be willing to jump back in right away. But, you have like Dishonored 2, you have Watch Dogs 2, you have, I don't know, Final Fantasy, Dead Rising 4 on the way. I almost would have preferred, if they did delay it, or they already delayed it, I almost would have preferred them to release it like mid-December or something. That's just me being selfish. But I've had the weirdest itch to play this game ever since I played like 2 hours of it back in March or April or something. And this is the same discussion I have every time around this game, because it like intrigued me before it released. And then, Scott reviewed it, I think, and he for like, despite its its flaws, he really liked it and he enjoyed the world. And he said like the grind, like despite it being grindy, it felt really worth it, in the end. But I don't know, like now the fact that like Pete, you were saying the world itself seems like it's pulling you in more. This might be when I finally jump back into it. Like I have co-op partners.
It's gameplay can support it, man. Like that's so much more attractive to me than I think what I was playing before.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the penultimate DLC. The next one will be the Last Stand, or just Last Stand, which is, appropriately enough, the final expansion. And that was scheduled to come out around this winter, but is now due out in early 2017. So yeah, Aaron, thanks so much. That is the Division, that is survival DLC that does not have an actual release date yet.
They're
but
saying end of the year.
End of the year, sometime before, New Year's. And it is also available now through Uplay on PC for some players. And let us know what you think. Will you finally get back into the Division? Or is this something that'll keep you playing amid the other huge fall releases? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Aaron, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate your expertise with the game as always. We're going to get somebody on right now. We're bringing Eric Tay on. So you can kind of guess like what one of 3 games that we always bring him on for.
Dark Souls, Destiny, or I don't want to spoil it because I know it.
One of those 3. Eric, what's up?
You can crap all over everything I just said.
Yeah, well, I was talking shit about Eric behind his back. Anyway, yeah, no, just kidding.
It's bright in here all of a sudden. There we go.
That door needs to be not auto locked. For people listening, the lights just like blinded Pete and I. Eric's taking his time getting over here.
Yeah, come on.
Eric Tay, what's up?
I went around it so I wouldn't cross this wide shot. Also, I think I
appreciate
butt hit the lights.
You
That's
butt
why.
dialed the light switch?
Butt dialed the light switch, and I was like, maybe this will wake you guys up.
What have you been playing?
Whoa, what are you saying? Wake us up?
Am I being monotone? What have you been playing lately? And don't say Overwatch because I don't want to segue into the segment yet.
Okay.
Make something up if you haven't.
I played Destiny.
Of course
Iron
you did.
Banner, because Iron Banner's there this week.
Yeah,
There you
how'd
go.
that go?
How'd
Did you
that
get
go?
anything good out of it, or are you just grinding?
No, I think
honestly?
I didn't. I only played a few matches, but anyone that's curious or interested at all, the rank 5 pulse rifle is really good. The roll, so I would say it's worth at least doing that, and then you can stop.
Okay. You were also down at BlizzCon last weekend with Justin Haywald.
Correct.
You played some of the Necromancer, the new character class. Well, the revived. Ooh, didn't even mean that one. The revived character class from Diablo 2 that's in Diablo 3 now. But you said like the skills weren't fully fleshed out. You said he seems aight.
Yeah, I mean, like, I personally never cared that much for the Necro myself, which is why my excitement for that class, or hearing that was the class that was like, or the thing we were getting next in Diablo, was kind of like, well, fine. I mean, we kind of have the Witch Doctor. I guess Necro's cool, and I know there's people that want the Necro, fine. But yeah, there was no runes or anything to modify the abilities on that class, so it was pretty basic. He had 6 skills. You can use them. Corpse Explode is fun, but everything else is just like, it's fine. Like, I just wanted other announcements, I guess.
Yeah.
Jog my memory really quick. Why would you want to explode a corpse if he's dead already?
To do area of effect
AoE,
damage.
dude.
Ooh, nice one. I have 6 characters level 70 in Diablo 3, and I'm actually going to jump back in with the Necromancer. And I played Diablo 2 enough to know what he's about. Just that always confused me, the phrasing of that.
You won't get to play him until the second half of 2017.
Whoa, wait,
Sweet. By
really?
that point. Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what they
I'm not gonna be
announced on
excited
the
by that
they
point.
announced. Yeah, exactly, right? They announced on the panel. So you probably want to know when he's coming out. And it's like early 2017. Nah, second half of second. Like soonish.
Sweet.
Second half
Probably
of
like
2017.
Like right at the turn of E3.
Sweet. Anyway,
Probably
so
later.
Yeah, I know, but you can imagine.
so Blizzard also started a behind-the-scenes Overwatch kind of documentary video the other day during BlizzCon during their keynote, and all of a sudden it cut out, and I actually fell for it and thought they were just screwing up. But Sombra, the new character for Overwatch, was officially unveiled at BlizzCon, and you got the chance to play her. You and Joey were also doing a live stream yesterday where you played her in the PTR. She is live in PTR servers for Overwatch. You could just go play that now if you own the game on PC. And then just set the servers to PTR instead of like
your
Americas
region.
or whatever your region is. So I just want to bring you on now that you've played her. You said you played a few matches with her. I was watching Joey, who was really good at Overwatch, playing as her yesterday. He's better than you, just so you know.
That's what I heard too.
We can 1v1 this later.
So our suspicion was that Sombra was going to be an attack character. A lot of people suspicioned that, and that rings true. Can you tell me what you think about her after playing with her?
I think she's a lot of fun. I think that she is more than just an assault character. I think she is placed into the assault category, but she's kind of that hybrid that you were kind of requesting for, when we talked about this last week. She does more than just kill people, right? Essentially, she has a hack ability, which is super useful for multiple reasons. You can hack not only enemy opponents, which will leave them only with their primary like left click firing ability, or console would be like whatever your trigger button is, and their passive. So like, Genji can still wall run or wall hop and stuff and double jump, but like he can't use his like dashing strike ability.
Sure.
And so it basically renders them mostly useless, right? Because they can't get away, they can't use their core abilities, and then it lets your teammates mop them up. And then on top of that, she can also hack health packs, which are very key, obviously, to Overwatch, because you most likely only have one or two healers, so you generally want to be able to use health packs to heal yourself, right? But she can deny the enemy the use of health packs. And on top of that, by hacking a health pack, it makes that health pack come back sooner. So then your teammates get more health packs, essentially, right? So she's this hybrid class in a way that's mostly, I feel like, almost the most unique character in the game, because she can play in very different styles, I guess. You can kind of play like that infiltrator, harassing / just hack, and just bring so much utility to your team, I guess.
She does. She strikes me as like Tracer mixed with a healer in a weird like indirect way through the health packs, mixed with, I don't even know, like maybe like what other character, I don't know why it's not coming to mind. What other characters like debuff like other...
Zenyatta does like Discord, but you're not really gaining that utility necessarily.
Well, I guess
but
Ana kind of does her sleep darts.
Yeah,
you can
I
cancel
guess-
people's abilities.
Yeah, I guess you could relate it in that way, because hacking does do kind of like negate abilities, as well as her EMP, which is her like ultimate ability, which is going to be very useful and like going to be part of big combos or denials, because it's basically like, okay, if Lucio pops his ultimate and gives everyone an overshield, and she knows that or sees that because, the audio cues and whatnot, and she happens to be near all those people, as long as they're within line of sight, she can EMP, which is her ult, and then it'll negate all of the shield. And
It's line of sight. I thought it was proximity.
No, so it's line of sight.
So it's like Deadeye more?
It's like Deadeye and Diva. Like if it's there, it's like a big AoE, but like if you're behind the wall, you won't get affected by it.
Okay. Yeah, it's always tough to tell completely how she plays as a member of a team when PTR, when it's like, 5v5 or like 5 Sombras in each team with like a Reinhardt or something. I don't know. But it's always fun, like with a new character with Ana and everybody. I was watching like the YouTube, the reveal trailer, just like, I was reading the comments on our live stream, which went to YouTube, and they were like, people were asking like, how would this affect that? How would this affect that? And people were saying like, well, can like Junkrat put his steel trap on her teleporter? And people are saying, yeah, he can. So like if he's smart enough and knows what he's doing and knows Sombra, he could do that. Another thing, like apparently if she uses the hack, the cancel hack on Hanzo, when he has one of his unique arrows out, either the sonar or the spread, it'll lock him to that arrow. He can't like switch to the other one because like it like cancels out or whatever.
Yeah, because it locks you out from having the ability to swap. It's like the same with like another example of that kind of situation is like Lucio. If you're in like the speed trance version or whatever, you're stuck in that version until the hack wears off. So you can't switch to heal, or if you're heal, you can't switch to the speed version.
If you're fast enough as Sombra, you can also cancel Junkrat's chain on someone. If you throw the hack thing at someone else quickly, you can cancel his chain.
You're talking about Roadhog?
What did I say?
You said Junkrat.
Oh, I already said the Junkrat seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roadhog. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
his chain.
But it's also like if you throw it early enough, it still comes out. Like it doesn't
Right.
stop. Like it's a very weird and interesting. I mean, again, it's in PTR. There are certain things that she can hack and certain instances that she can hack and like stop things completely. And then sometimes it like doesn't. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like a case by case situation. It's kind of like what we talked about yesterday when a lot of people were asking questions of like what you can and can't do. Like you can stop a McCree ult if he's mid channel. Like,
Yeah.
but I think apparently like the stuff that's continuous. It won't get stopped. Like I think once Winston's in his rage form, you can't hack him to like unrage him. Or like if Soldier's got his going on already, like it doesn't stop his either. Like it'll just keep going.
From your time with her, do you see her being more effective as like focusing on one area, like kind of being a skirmisher or a pest, or focusing just on the health pack hacks, or focusing just on, actually attacking? Do you think she would be useful as a jack of all trades throughout each match, or do you think someone really needs to focus on one thing?
It's hard to say. I mean, she does.
Sorry,
have
she just
that
seems like
ability.
such a complicated character, like in terms of what you're thinking about throughout each match.
Yeah, I think it's gonna definitely depend on the game type. I feel like, right? Like I feel like capture point stuff is
Right.
like you definitely want to get health pack domination, so to speak. Payload, maybe not so much with the health packs. You know what I mean? Like it's still important, but it's not as important as like capture the point. And in terms of being a pest, I feel like that's kind of what you want to be in a way. You want to try to get to the back line and get to the healers, and do as much damage to the weaker people that you can. Her passive basically makes it, like when I think enemies are below 50%, you kind of see this like infrared highlighted through like walls and stuff,
Yeah.
almost like pseudo Widowmaker. And you want to pick those people off because like her SMG is pretty good, like short range, but it's not going to do like a lot of damage. So it's not like she's going to be killing that many people. She's more like to finish people off, or like with her hack that then allows your team to kill those people because they don't have like their escape abilities and whatnot. So she's like a weird assault utility. Like
Yeah.
she is kind of like a jack of all trades in a way, I guess.
Yeah, because I would classify her as like assault support hybrid, but again, like you could just be a pure assault like Tracer and kind of just darting in and out if you wanted to.
Her damage won't be as good as Tracer's though. I feel
Sure,
like.
and her mobility, because people can also read where you're about to teleport, whereas Tracer, you can go in any direction right?
Well,
if they see where you
if they
throw
see
your.
where you threw it, but you can leave
Yeah.
it behind. You do have a good amount of time to like relocate back like 15 seconds
Yeah.
later. So she's one of those characters that has like a high skill ceiling, but like she's going to be very dangerous, I feel like, in the right hands, and very
Sure.
important in like even the new quick play, which is you can only have one of each class. I think she's
Right.
going to be important, especially in the current meta of the game. Where there's,
Yeah, she's definitely not. If I was playing quick play, she's not a character I'd jump in as right now and screw my team over.
Yeah.
I just stick to McCree or my girl Zarya, as I always do.
yeah. So Zarya is interesting too, because if you have like Zarya's shield up, you can't actually hack Zarya. But then if your
Oh.
shield if it's not up, then she can hack you and you can't use your abilities, obviously.
So, judging by that, if Zarya's shielding someone else, does that also prevent them from getting hacked?
If the bubble is on that person, then that person can't get hacked. It's
Oh,
like
interesting.
Reinhardt, where if he has his shield up, you can't hack him in front of him. But if you invis or something or get behind a Reinhardt that you see has his shield up, you
Cool.
can then hack him from behind.
That's interesting because at the end of that infiltration short video, they showed Zarya come in as like the bodyguard of that leader or whatever, or like
Yeah.
I don't know what the whole like implication was. They're having Zarya go kill Sombra or something, or just
Maybe.
bodyguard the
Or
guy. I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe bodyguard.
Regardless, yeah, she seems like a super interesting character, especially like I said, I really like those hybrid characters, and that's what I was hoping for, and I think people assumed. I do like that, like I like characters like even Zarya. Kind of, you have a few different duties with her when you're playing. You can, if you're good enough and shielding people enough, you can use her for damage. Especially if you're up close, and then the graviton surge, probably my favorite alt. I'm just going off on a tangent talking about Zarya now because I love
It's
her.
all good. She's somewhat topical. She was in the trailer.
Yeah. And like you said, she can cancel out the hack if she's fast enough because those shields don't last long, but you just
Yeah.
need to know when to cast them.
It's true.
Cool. So obviously, when are we gonna have her on?
I don't think
PS4,
there's a specific
PC?
date. A lot of people have been speculating that, like when they did Ana on PTR, she kind of came out like almost like a week or two after. A nice period of time, if you kind of just think like chronologically in terms of time, is that season 2 is going to end soon. I think season 3, if I remember right, starts like early December or like end of November. And there's like, instead with this season transferring from 2 to 3, they're shortening the gap of how long it's going to be between seasons. Whereas like 1 to 2 was apparently like 3 weeks. They're only going to have a 1 week break this time.
Okay.
So I feel like having her come out that week, like towards the, like right when season 2 ends and before season 3 starts, is a good time because it'll give players enough time. Like, oh, I have a week to learn how to use Sombra or like play Sombra, and that'll kind of give them prep time for season 3.
Yeah.
Essentially. But I don't know. I haven't seen a specific like date, but definitely this year from what it seems like. So
Sure. Pete, I always kind of like bring up Overwatch to you. I know you haven't gotten really into it.
Why must you keep throwing me under the
him under
bus?
No.
Yes, this
listen.
character makes me want to play Overwatch.
Yeah, dude, play it. What about her like seems appealing, or just I mean all the characters are kind of appealing.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but she has an ability where you can throw an object and use that to teleport to wherever it goes.
yeah, so basically she has like a device that you can either set behind,
Right.
go forward, then
Yeah.
relocate, or you can even use it as a mobility tool where like you can throw it in front of you
Right.
and then like relocate. Yeah, so
Yeah,
yes,
that sounds
essentially.
rad. That alone sounds super interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can do that while you're invisible.
Yeah.
Well,
One of the
hell.
abilities.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
So any worries about her being OP? I know you mentioned there was a few examples where perhaps, a specific character's abilities would negate some of her her advantages.
Yeah.
But does it seem like that across the board, or is it really just one or two exceptions?
I mean, it's really hard to say. I think everyone, when they first see her and see her toolkit, like immediately go, oh my God, she's OP,
Right,
just
right,
because
right.
of like what she can do, right? But
There's give and take.
It's like a natural reaction, right? I feel like, it's kind of like a give and a take. And I feel like Overwatch is the type of game where it's very rock, paper, scissors. There's always like a hard counter, right? Like even yesterday when we were playing on the PTR, when somebody finally got frustrated, like I'm so sick of these Sombras, they go Winston. And Winston is like such a hard counter because he's in your face. And like, unless you set up one of those devices to relocate, you're not getting away from him. And you're
Right.
probably going to die because she doesn't have like that much health. She has 200 health, but like she can't fight him up close, like one-on-one. You know what I mean?
Does the hacking take a little bit, like you were saying?
Yeah, it takes like
Okay.
it's like a 2 to 3 second channeling. And I believe if you get hit, it stops you from channeling.
Yeah,
it.
people are also saying May is a good counter for her too because of her
Exactly.
constant ice stream that
So then-
won't let you even start hacking.
Yeah.
Does the channeling of the hack or whatever stop when you teleport?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It wouldn't. That would be that's some crazy good.
Right.
Gotcha.
So you need to pick and choose when you actually start the hack or even go for it.
Yeah.
If you have a character like as if I needed another reason to hate playing against Maze.
Yeah, May all day.
I know. I
Maybe.
know you're good with May. That's why I want to get you off this set right now. No, just kidding. So cool. That is Sombra. She's the new character that we were suspecting for a while with all the leaks and that alternate reality thing they were doing.
The
Not
ARG.
augmented. Yeah. Is that what is ARG?
Alternate reality.
Alternate
game?
reality game. Yeah. I was getting it confused with augmented. Very different. But yeah, so that's Sombra. She's on PTR servers on Steam. If you go and play on PC right now, you
Definitely not on Steam.
Sorry, she's on PTR servers through Blizzard.net, and you can play as her right now.
Battle.net?
Battle. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love this.
Battle. You know what I'm saying? You can go play Sombra on PTR servers on Battle.net, Battle.net, whatever you want to call it. And she's not on PS4 now. We don't have any word on when she'll be there, but like Eric Tay said, probably right around when season 3 is getting ready to launch.
I'd speculate.
Cool.
Hard to say though.
Awesome. Well, Eric Tay,
I don't want to
thanks.
leave.
You don't want to leave.
I'm
You're
just
just going to
kidding.
let
Jake,
Jake
get
there,
on
stand
here.
there. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bring Jake on. Talk Mass Effect. He's gonna walk in front of this camera.
What is going on here?
You never know, man. I'm sorry to throw you on the bus. You gotta. I'll get back in Overwatch soon. We can play
Great.
and the
I want to
Division.
play Overwatch.
Yeah.
Not the Division, though.
No, I just brought it to you this morning. You said it'd be cool.
It sounds cool, but I don't want to play more of that. I don't.
He just says what he thinks you want to hear offset.
Are you just my yes man now?
Yeah.
Just to get me to go away from your desk, you just
Yeah.
tell me and everything I want to hear because I annoy you
Pretty
so
much.
much. All right, what do we even bring you on for? No, I'm just kidding. Mass Effect Andromeda, the new cinematic trailer launched yesterday, November 7th, or N7 Day, if you're one of those people, or work at
I'm
BioWare.
one of those people.
Yeah, I know you are.
Definitely one of those people.
So you and Jean-Luc did a like trailer breakdown, what it's telling us about Andromeda. This game's been delayed a bunch. A lot of people have left the studio. We saw at E3. I think it was E3. This kind of a letdown of
Weird
a trailer.
demo.
Yeah, it wasn't gameplay.
Yeah.
It was just weird. Like some of the audio wasn't even synced up with character faces talking. Like it didn't seem like it was synced.
Are you talking about the E3 one?
Not yesterday, the E3 one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yesterday it was pretty cool. It was Ryder's dad, like apparently Alec Ryder.
Alec Ryder, yeah. So he's in it this time.
Because the twins are the main character.
The
The
twins
Ryder
are the main
twins,
character,
yeah.
so you can pick between male or female, which is typical of Mass Effect. But then what's different in this is that if you pick the male, then the female character is still going to be in the game. She's going to be sort of your wingman, wingwoman,
Okay.
Wing person.
wing person.
So I want to talk today mainly about like what the trailer, and then Mac Walters, the creative director at BioWare, was answering a lot of questions on Twitter yesterday about how this game is going to play between like the romances and the overall like genre it's going to fall into. That's the one thing I want to touch on first. If you haven't seen the cinematic trailer, again, it's just talking about the Andromeda Initiative, like the 600-year trip that they put people into cryostasis for, like a bunch of different species descend to the Andromeda Galaxy, which is a close neighbor to us in the grand scheme of things. But again, it would take like 600 years to get there, according to Mass Effect lore, based on the technology they have. But it also takes place between Mass Effect 2 and 3. So that's BioWare's way of avoiding the consequences of the ending of 3. So by the time you arrive in the Andromeda Galaxy in Mass Effect Andromeda, the events of 3 have already taken place. It's long after 3. It's also like so far away that it probably wouldn't matter. Are the Reapers universal, or are they just in each galaxy? I'm getting too.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure if I had done some heavy research, I could figure out. But I don't think the Reapers are going to be in this game. I know there's some things in that trailer that kind of look like Reaper tech.
Yeah,
but I really don't think so. I think they're trying to move on, and I doubt it.
It'd be cool to see Reaper tech, but yeah, I don't want them figuring into the narrative too heavily again, because I feel like that has come and gone, and you pretty much have done everything possible to Reapers.
I feel like we've dealt with that. Let's not deal with that again.
Yeah. So, but okay. So you were the one that brought this up to me. You said it's going to be more RPG-ish than 2 and 3, because the first Mass Effect felt much more like an RPG with its abilities and its character ranking, but also just it didn't, like 2 and 3 leaned really heavily into the cover shooting and kind of simplified the RPG aspects. But this one, Mac Walters, creative director on Twitter, was saying this is going to have more RPG elements. Can you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of been rumored before that they were going to go back to their roots with this. But it seems like from what I've heard and what I've seen, it sounds like this is going to be very heavy RPG and still kind of keep that intense action, like third-person cover-based shooting, and try to figure out more of a blend between those two, which I think is what people want. They want that exploration. They want that customization, the RPG elements of leveling up. But I think they still want that pretty solid third-person shooting intact as well.
Yeah, in terms of like building relationship with your characters, they also said loyalty missions are back from Mass Effect 2. Was that? Mass Effect 2, you're building up the loyalties for each of the characters, so then by the time the suicide mission rolls around, they have a higher chance of survival, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I don't know how those factor into this, obviously, and I'm not sure you would either, but are you happy about that? Did you like those in Mass Effect 2?
Yeah, I thought the loyalty missions were some of the best things about Mass Effect. Just getting to know some of those characters were great. And from what we've seen, it seems like there's going to be a cool cast of characters that you'll be able to get to know. And it'll be nice, at least I think, it'll be nice doing some of these missions without the threat of galactic destruction overhang. Because, I mean, like some of these missions were like, help me find my sister, something like that, which is cool. But at the same time, it's like we're trying to save a galaxy here.
Yeah, who cares about your sister? She's probably dead. That's what I would always think. Did you not to sound callous, but no, like you said, I'm worried about like billions of people, not
and
Susan.
That is what I really hope they find the balance with this game. At least in terms of story, I hope they kind of like figure out a way to like basically not put a clock on this story that's at least too stringent, if that makes sense. Because I do want it to like take time and build and explore characters and universes and fun stuff.
That's always a difficult balance to strike with open world games. I know with Mafia 3, Hangar 13 was saying they really wanted to make each of your missions feel urgent, so you're not going to stop and play darts or go on a date like you would in Grand Theft Auto 5. Although in Grand Theft Auto 5, that storyline kind of allows for that more. You're not trying to bring down a mob as a revenge tale, at least in Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah, but I mean, it's also might have been just Hangar 13's reason for justifying not putting a lot of minor things in the game. I don't know. I don't want to talk about Mass Effect or Mafia 3 too much, but Pete, did you play the Mass Effect games at all?
Mike, you should know the answer to this question. It's always no.
I forgot you don't like video games. No, just kidding. But are you interested in Andromeda past just like the hype surrounding it?
So Mass Effect 1 is a game that I was super curious about that, and I was definitely ready to like jump into that game. Circumstances didn't allow for it. And then 2 and 3 lost that RPG bend a little bit. Mm-hmm. So given that it might be going back to what happened in 1, I'm totally sold. I feel kind of fortunate that I'm not wrapped up in the storyline because it seems like 3 faced a lot of sort of like controversy.
Yeah.
I don't want that baggage. So I'm looking forward to playing Andromeda almost as someone who just is new to the series.
I think that's part of the reason why they position this story to start kind of in between. But also, I think it was Mac Walters again who said that you don't really need to have played the other ones in order to get into this story and appreciate it, which developers always say when they come out with like a 4th game, like, oh, Gears of War 4, you need to play the other ones. And
Yeah, Gears of War 4 in its defense did a good job of that. Like giving you that prologue, so to give you like a hint of the Cog Wars or the Pendulum Wars and whatever before you get into it in the original trilogy. But yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda, the whole thing that strikes me is you're a Pathfinder. That's what it's called now. That's like your group, I guess. You're almost like a ranger kind of, right? Like in investigating the Andromeda Galaxy, and just it's kind of a sci-fi trope now, trying to find new places for humans to inhabit. But I assume that's what the Andromeda Initiative is, right?
yeah, so the Andromeda Initiative, at least based on the other trailer they released, there's 4 ships. I said 3 in the trailer breakdown. But there's actually 4. Each one kind of is run by a different race, presumably like the 4 council races. I won't get too into that. And each one is led by a Pathfinder, and that Pathfinder, they say, is like someone who's good with combat, good with exploration, and like, is a good guide, and then a scientist. So that kind of hints that there's going to be combat, there's going to be exploration, and there's going to be like sort of researching different materials.
You're playing a character that would be fun to play as in a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
Works out. Or you could be like, I feel like you're going to run into Matt Damon just on one of these planets. He's been there for a while.
I hope so.
That could be 2 movies I'm referencing, but I'm not going to say the second one because I just spoiled something. Yeah, no, I mean, it strikes me as like, I don't know, like Interstellar kind of, that whole, like the whole distance from the Milky Way, the whole, like the time it takes to travel there. I imagine that could lead to some cool like storytelling moments. Like, if we're going to relay information back to the Milky Way, they're not going to get it for however long, like depending on, because the mass relays from the first trilogy, which allow like the travel between stars and star clusters and solar systems, don't go to the Andromeda Galaxy. And that's why they had to send these ships that took 600 years to get there in cryostasis. You wake up, you're presumably still the same age. I don't know. I've never been frozen like that.
No,
but,
you haven't?
No. What does it feel like?
I thought you were born like 400 years ago and you just popped out now.
Yeah, is that what my personality conveys?
Yeah.
Do I have like a wisdom about me?
No.
What? That's exactly what I'm going for, and I'm not hitting it.
Nah.
Really?
Nah.
You could definitely be a wizard, Pete.
Just because of my glasses?
No, your beard and your glasses.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, and then they said like same thing with romances. You can romance aliens. Same-sex romances are back. You can kiss a bunch of people, which I guess is always fun.
Smooches.
People care a lot more about the relationships, the romances in these games than I do.
Is this one of these kissing games?
Yeah, it's a dating simulator where you have to travel. Every potential mate in the Milky Way is gone, so you have to go to the Andromeda Galaxy.
And bone.
Exactly.
Yep.
Whatever alien species you want, if you got game. That is. So yeah, you're skilled in science, combat, probably biotics. Yeah, lovemaking, flirting. Bring a sick pickup line with you to Andromeda Galaxy. It might come in handy.
What would your pickup line
I just
be?
sold that game for BioWare. What my pickup line be? We're pretty far from the sun, but it still feels pretty hot right now. Come on. Off the cuff, that was bad?
Yeah, but off the cuff, man, you're gonna have to like do just.
Well,
do better than that.
I didn't have 600 years to prepare for it. I'll bring it with me before I play the game, and then I'll use it on some Asari that is attracting me. Asari is Arya, right? The blue ones. Yeah. With like snake tentacle hair,
with the tentacle ponytails.
Yeah, I mean,
like you're approving smell. Yeah.
I'd better bring a pickup line. All right, this is. Where did we lose track of this conversation? I don't know. Anything else like that the trailer showed you? I mean, like obviously it's on GameSpot right now. You can go to watch this Mass Effect Andromeda cinematic trailer breakdown that Jake and Jean-Luc did. But anything that you guys pulled out of that you wanted to talk about in terms of what it might tell us about Andromeda that I didn't ask you?
Some things. Actually, to be honest, I think more information came from that other trailer that they showed, the kind of like Andromeda Initiative trailer. They just showed some weapons, some returning weapons, some newer weapons. They showed they hinted at sort of a colonization aspect where you'll be able to create like colonies. I don't know how in depth that is. They haven't talked about that at all, but that could be something fascinating. And it kind of makes sense, right? If you're colonizing a new planet or whatever, you're going to want to create buildings, structures, things of that nature.
Sure.
2 to 4 player co-op. Still not sure how that's gonna work.
There's like a separate mode, maybe like Mass Effect 3, I would assume, the multiplayer.
The separate modes would be the safe bet. I think it's going to be sort of similar to, I guess, maybe Destiny, where like most of your, well, no, because you can play co-op through all the missions on Destiny, right? But I think there's going to be like sort of a campaign, but on your map or whatever, you can pick like, okay, here's a 4-player co-op mission that I can do.
Gotcha.
So I think it'll be similar to Mass Effect 3, but it'll be more seamless. Once again, speculation, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a cool way to do co-op for that game.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't know, the game's been delayed so much, and people have left BioWare that have working on it. I don't know what's going on over there. We did an interview with Aaron Flynn, the studio manager back at E3, which is really interesting. You should go check that out. It's also on GameSpot. But yeah, in the meantime, I guess we'll keep an eye out for more coming from, I don't know, they're going to be doing maybe another trailer with the Mass Effect or Andromeda Initiative.
Yeah. So
something.
they're supposed to give new initiative information. Like, they haven't said when, but it's going to be kind of often. And the gameplay reveal is at the Video Game Awards, which I don't know the date on that. It's usually in December, though,
I think
right?
it's early December. Yeah.
Early December. So not long until you see more of Mass Effect.
Cool. So yeah, that is Mass Effect Andromeda, the new cinematic trailer, and the Andromeda Initiative trailer, which Jake and Jean-Luc detail extensively in a video breakdown on GameSpot. So go check that out and let us know what you think in the comments below. Jake, thanks for coming on.
Is Rob getting on now?
Yeah, Rob Handler's coming on. He's probably going to fire in here any second, like he usually does. But yeah, thanks a lot. I've been using sunny terms a lot lately. Going to fire in here with news. Rob, I like your sticker.
Shut
up. Did you vote? Or did you just wear that sticker to feel good about yourself?
I found a whole roll of these outside.
Nice.
So I've been giving them away.
Voter fraud.
There's a weird crowd and a bunch of booths, and I pulled a few levers and then left. And I had this sticker now.
You did levers.
No, I didn't vote yet. I'm just assuming are they not levers anymore?
Well,
Is it digital?
It could be a bunch of
Touchscreens? No, I'm actually asking. I don't know.
It depends on the polling station and the state.
Connect the line.
You have to do a crossword puzzle.
Finish the arrow.
You have to draw a portrait of the
16 across is 5 letters. The Republican Party candidate.
I might be on the local news.
Yeah?
We're filming people leaving. And I was just like walking out like.
Behind the reporter, or did they interview you?
It just looked like someone was just filming B-roll.
Oh.
But, you know.
And you flash one of those waves?
Yeah.
It's going to be sick.
But anyways.
Despite the fact that you are our in-house political correspondent, I did not bring you on to talk about the election because everybody else is doing that. We're going to talk about something more important. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Me and you both finished the campaign? Did you finish the campaign?
I did.
We both finished the campaign. I played a lot of zombies. I played multiplayer, both in the beta and when the game released. Miguel Concepcion reviewed it for us, gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
He is not here. He does a lot of freelance work for us, but he's not in the office today. So I brought you on to talk about it because I think in the office, me and you were the ones that played the most.
Yeah, the campaign. I played it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fun campaign. Had a good time with it, yeah.
I think we agree the campaign is the most alluring. Let's jump into the campaign a little bit because that's the one we want to talk about the most. But to touch on zombies, I mean, like the Black Ops 3, the base game launched with the Noir one with Jeff Goldblum. That's pretty fun, but I actually really like the zombies. The zombies in Spaceland, very 80s themed, like neon clothes. There's the typical jock with a sports jacket on. There's the geek with he's got a bicycle helmet on. I don't know if what he's doing with that. But then there's, it's you could bring down David Hasselhoff and fight with you. The zombies has always been like, I was talking to Brian Bright. Well, we both went to Infinity Ward recently to shoot the feature videos, and Brian Bright, the lead designer on zombies, was saying like they were pretty much given instructions to make it as different from the base game as possible, like as a break from the frenetic multiplayer or just like the serious tone of the campaign narrative.
The zombies for a while had its own narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't as it was a super subtle narrative.
Nazi
right?
zombies had this
Nazi
thread
zombies
through all of them. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that was another thing they got to steer away from, which is cool.
Yeah. So this is Infinity Ward's first time with zombies, because obviously Treyarch started it, but then Infinity Ward Modern Warfare 3 did Survival, I think, and then Ghosts did another mode. I might be mixing those up. Regardless, this is Infinity Ward's first time with zombies. I had a lot of fun with it. It's pretty sprawling, but there's still the same strategies. If you haven't played it, zombies tear down these window boards, and you want to let the first few tear them down so you get extra money for rebuilding them, and then at the end of the round, you want to try to get a crawler, blow the legs off a zombie so he gives you more time if he's the last one to run around indefinitely and buy whatever weapons you need off the walls. But yeah, you can bring down David Hasselhoff if you go to this Omnibot over here. I don't know if it's going to show it in this gameplay, but the robot, after you do a set amount of challenges, launches into space, comes back down with David Hasselhoff, and the robot's face looks like Kit from Knight Rider.
Because that's where David Hasselhoff is, right? In space. Just
Apparently, yeah. I don't
present
know
reality.
where they got him, like on the moon or somewhere else, but he comes down, he fights with you for a while. Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, again, it's pretty much just the kitchen sink approach. Like, what crazy things can we do? You activate this like, I don't even know, tilt-a-whirl? I forget what the name of the generic name of the ride would be, but it like starts this tornado that sucks zombies up. You can activate bumper cars. You can do a dance floor that's got like the zombies become like they don't hurt you anymore because they're busy dancing, and then the disco ball becomes lasers and kills
like
them,
that.
or you if you're on the dance floor.
I like that.
So yeah, no, I mean the zombies again, it's fun. It's one of my favorite ones. I like it a lot. And then there's multiplayer, which every Call of Duty, that's kind of what I personally judge Call of Duties by. I mean, until like this one, but you know, the multiplayer is always, it's a massive player base. They're always going to make a lot of money because a lot of people are going to play them. It's a yearly release with 3 development studios, and they've always iterated on multiplayer. I feel like this is the least they've done. Because you play like specialists from Black Ops 3 are like carried over here in form of rigs, which are kind of these like character classes in themselves, but they don't factor into the overall picture as much as I would have hoped.
So what I liked about the campaign so much is that there was a really cool dynamic and change of pace. Like, you know, in one moment you're starting a side mission, you're sniping outside of like asteroids. Next thing you know, you're inside the spaceship sneaking on board, choosing whether you want to go stealth or not. But I think what was really neat for me that I loved was the zero-G elements of the campaign. And I feel like if the multiplayer was going to, you know, pull from the campaign, I would have liked to have seen a lot more of that type of stuff.
Zero-G stuff.
Like a room in the middle of the map where they could kind of implement these like cool changes of pace, because that was, I felt like such a theme, such a heart and soul of this push to go to outer space. Let's just go there and do that in all shapes and fashions, like in the multiplayer. I feel like that was kind of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they kept showing these, like a big push with their art direction was to try to combine modern naval technology with NASA. And that carries through in the multiplayer maps, right? There's the one map, Frontier, which is like this space station. It's these like varying elevations between these corridors and everything. But yeah, like you said, they don't use the space setting to the multiplayer's advantage to make anything interesting. It's just Call of Duty combat, like vanilla Call of Duty combat. It still feels really good. It's always going to feel good. I think they mastered it like, I don't even know how many years ago. The movement, if I hadn't played Titanfall 2, I would say it feels good, but Titanfall 2 just feels so incredibly great that Call of Duty kind of feels lacking.
And they went all in with that, you know,
Yeah.
with wall running. And here it was like, you could do it, but like, would that be like valuable in any way? Like,
No,
it
I
doesn't
always
seem like it.
I felt like when I wall run, I just get killed right away. Whereas in
Yeah.
Titanfall, it speeds me up and I can drop on people really fast. But the rigs they factor in when you have your ultimate, like the perks that I know you hate when I call it the ultimate. Like, was that you? Yeah, because in
That was
Titanfall, I was
me.
calling about the
Yeah,
core abilities.
Yeah, we're so easily swayed to take on new terms.
What should I call it? The ability you build up towards and then you activate.
I don't know.
Climax.
What does the game call it? What
You
does
just
the game call it?
climaxed on everyone at that control point. That was the game
I'm
called?
convinced. Yeah, what does the
Infinite
game
Warfare.
call it? What does the game call that thing?
Oh,
Jesus.
the rig core ability? No, that's Titanfall.
Yeah. I haven't played multiplayer. I wouldn't know. I mean, I
I'm
guess.
just gonna call it the ultimate.
do what you want.
When you activate your
Do what you want.
superpower, each rig has 2. So this is another layer on top of the pick 10 system that Black Ops 2 introduced. You do pick 10 for your loadout, your weapons, your attachments, your lethal, your regular, or your tactical grenades. The rigs is another layer on top of that where you get one of 2 like ultimate abilities you activate, whether it's a weapon or this like shield charge for certain characters. But then you also have 3 unique perks, one of which you can activate at a time. So it's so each rig. So say you pick Stalker, you can activate the one like stay off radar perk, but you can't use the other 2 unless that's part of the pick 10 system. But they don't really factor in as much as I would like. They don't do enough to actually vary the Call of Duty multiplayer formula. Whereas Black Ops 3, introducing that movement, the movement was different enough from Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare was more shifty kind of, and then Black Ops 3 was going for the more Titanfall kind of fluid movement. Again, this just feels like a very small iteration on Black Ops 3, like Treyarch's multiplayer that they kind of started working on last year. And I know these rigs are kind of an effort from like Infinity War was saying to kind of cater to this crowd, this shooter crowd that's in like, you know, increasingly getting more used to these classes like that stem from like MOBAs. Now you know that you have the term hero shooter, and like even Titanfall's Titans kind of do it too. Their character, like these classes are getting more characterized and more recognizable, kind of like, I don't know, you might see in like a fighting game, just knowing how to counter certain characters or something. I don't feel like the multiplayer did enough for me to really just like, I'm probably not going to go back to it when I have Titanfall and Battlefield and Overwatch still with a new character and everything. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement. This campaign might be one of the better Call of Duty campaigns, in my opinion, especially since Modern Warfare. But I even like this more in Modern Warfare. I think it takes more risk than Modern Warfare did. Not just because of the story, which I actually liked, but the structure of it, right? The seamless structure. Like, how did you feel about this, like, taking off from planets, going to spaceships, coming back down, doing a dogfight?
It's really engaging. Having looked back on it, it makes me almost think like, geez, was the timeline of this whole campaign like 2 days?
Yeah.
Like, I think you're just constantly not seeing that loading screen, or it's just masked with like really cool, cinematic like shots of like your Jackal ship jettisoning out into space. Like some of the highlights of that campaign were like, again, these moments of like a side mission, an optional side mission that you don't have to do, and you're just sneaking in and taking over a spaceship from like outside, like, huddling around asteroids, going upside down in 0G, like just really unique stuff that I haven't seen in a game. Like this kind of sci-fi 0G element. Like I don't know if I've ever seen it done well enough where it's like, I guess to a degree believable. Mm-hmm. But it's great, and the characters were great. The writing was great. Like a lot of really great in-game characterizations of people, and like development in general of characters, like handling inside the actual gameplay, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Like, what you thought was like a battle between two characters, something happens during as you're shooting, and then that gets resolved and carries on into the cinematic in the next part. And so
I totally missed what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it the next day, and I went back and played it. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even see that. It reminded me like something like Naughty Dog would do with Uncharted.
gonna say.
exactly right. Yeah.
And it's
an
just this, like,
ongoing
in-game
thing.
stuff.
Yeah. Really cool exploration levels. Like I remember there was one level which was really cool. I think it was on the Mercury one, where like the power kept turning off and on. Mm-hmm. And it was just a really cool and neat dynamic. For a Call of Duty game, you're exploring and you have to continually turn your flashlight on and off. I don't know. It's, again, for a Call of Duty game, which is so much, as far as campaign goes, like so on rails, this felt totally not that. And that was like a really refreshing thing to have happen.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that, I don't know, I sat down, and unlike most Call of Duty games, after playing for about 2 hours, I didn't feel like I played like 4 missions. I feel like I just played this 2-hour thing that existed on its own. And I made a weird comparison to you, and I think it made sense though. Maybe it's to Jake. I said it's like the Birdman of video games. It's like they disguise their cuts or loading screens in this case. When you do side missions, they just like warp you to the armory where you pick your loadout, then warp you to the hangar where you get in your Jackal. But you take off yourself. Where most games, when you would finish a dogfight in a Jackal, which we could talk about the Jackal, the dogfights too, it would just end and cut to black and go to the next mission or the cutscene. This, like, you actually have to land your ship again, and then you go into the docking bay where you and your partner Salt, her last name is Salter, you like rotates and you like have this conversation as your ships. You're still in your cockpits. Your ships are going down to the hangar bay. You get out and then you walk back up to the bridge as like Griff, the armory guy, is telling you, oh, that blueprint you picked up will be useful for the next mission. And then you go back up to the bridge. You see
the newscast of like what your effect was. Which is it seems like a little gimmicky, frustrating. It's like, can you have the news reporters stop ratting out all of our plans?
How the fuck did you get this scoop like 5 minutes after I blew that
SDF
space
is going to
station
see
up?
this.
Yeah, they didn't know. It's like, oh, they found top secret plans for this planet-destroying sphere that they made. But then you go back to the bridge, and you were saying like you go to the center console, and we said it reminded us of Mass Effect, right? You go up to the star map, and you get these side missions. It's either a Jackal dogfight mission, which will improve your Jackal, the starship you're using, or the dogfighter, the fighter you're using for dogfights, or you will go to these like infiltration missions, which a lot of times start in 0G or start in your Jackal when you have to infiltrate this battleship. And then you go in and like you put a bomb in the life support systems for this specific room. So then you activate it and you watch the gravity go away and the oxygen go away. And you're in it. I don't want to spoil this, but there's you put on disguises. You just do stealth, and the stealth feels good. It reminds me of the Metro games. You played those. it's not realistic in terms of like their sight lines and whether they saw you or not. It's enough to like let you have fun with the stealth and actually like kind of crouch around and feel a little powerful, being in the shadows, whatever you want to say.
Right, and it's one of those moments too which is neat. It reminds me of like a Metal Gear game where it's like you are controlling your own stealth until you mess up, and it's your option if you'd like to go back to a checkpoint, or you just continue the rest of that mission. Now with the alarm sounded, it might be a little more difficult, but that's how it is, and that's how it's going to be, and that's very unique for me. You think of like all gillied up, like you get spotted for the most part. I think it would reset, right? Like.
Yeah,
Or parts of that
more
mission,
like,
at least.
Yeah, it was more like an early Metal Gear Solid where you don't have much of a fighting chance,
right?
In terms of just all out combat. Yeah, but what did you think? We touched on the Jackal a few times. What did you think of that dogfighting with the controls?
It's pretty good. I thought, like I'm a huge fan of like Sims and having that full like 1-to-1 like rolling ability. It's there on the D-pad, but you're never. It felt more like a tank.
You have to move your
a hovering tank, which is fine. Like I enjoyed it. A lot of Star Fox kind of arena type stuff.
Gotcha.
Where it's like, depending on like you're not like flying like through space on like a tangent or like a waypoint. Like you're just kind of like circling an area that's swarming. Yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed it. I kind of got bored of them. Like I did all the side missions at once, more or less. I think only a couple are given to you as you finish the main campaign storyline. Like you get one or two more, but I did them all at once, which was kind of boring. Some locations seem to be repeated.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of asteroid fields and like space stations.
Yeah,
I do feel that the Jackal combat would not be as impressive if it wasn't in a Call of Duty game, just because it's so novel for Call of Duty. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I like it more for how it fits into the overall sequence of like again leaving your ship, getting into a Jackal, manually taking off. Kind of manually use an analog stick to like use your boost, but then you see yourself flying out. You get to the dogfight, do your dogfight. The controls will feel natural to you if you play a lot of first-person shooters because you can just turn on a dime and hover, or just hover in place and just shoot something. There's a lock on. You still have to be sort of aiming with the lock on. It just keeps your reticle around the guy.
You're like the only thing you're really trying to do is just avoid lock-ons. Yeah, you're just hitting your flares when it tells you to.
Yeah.
So it just gets a little boring. Like you kind of see the same thing. You're hitting these bigger sized carriers in the same way.
Yeah.
Like it gets a little repetitive, but still a spectacle. Like you're getting like you're over Earth, you're over Titan. Like that's cool.
This game is gorgeous, especially in those cutscenes that we just saw a few of. Honestly, just there's a part where the ship or I think it's your Jackal. It's not the Retribution, the carrier, but your Jackal is coming up like the bottom left of the screen, very small. There's a big asteroid just like covering the solar flare from the sun because you're on Mercury, and it's just gorgeous how it outlines the ship and everything. That's like one example, but just throughout this game, the cutscenes especially. And again, the cutscenes aren't the only time you're hearing dialogue and you're seeing the story play out. There's a lot of times like Ethan the robot, me and you like love. I think everybody's gonna love Ethan who plays the game. Yeah. Ethan is nicknamed for what is his like? It's like a call sign like E3N or something. But he's super amicable and like he makes these jokes. I was just laughing at like. Someone said, "Oh, you got quite the personality." He's like, "Yeah, I have the brain of a farmer." And then someone's like, "Are you shitting me?" He's like,
really?
Completely, yeah. I was joking.
No, ma'am. Not at all. He's basically Tars from Interstellar, but like with a much more like endearing, like heart-filled like emotion. Like he just you care about him.
Yeah,
you're like a brother to me. One thing I had just remembered and I haven't brought up until now was I thought as you like go through armories and it seems like you're getting intel which then are affecting your suit. Like those I kept hearing that guy Griff or whatever say, "Oh, we got something new in the armory. Go check out the armory." Mm-hmm. The armory was only there just to customize a loadout. Mm-hmm. Like you're not doing anything with your suit though.
If you press pause at any point in the campaign, on the right side it'll show you all the perks you've accumulated. They're passive.
Okay.
You don't activate them. They're not perks.
That's
like
what was frustrating me.
You stack. I got all of them and it like fills up the whole screen. I like faster health regen, more ammo.
But a lot of these perks I didn't even notice.
They weren't something that would just be standout, but I think if you went through the game and played the last mission again without getting any of them, you might notice. I think it makes it like you're gonna want those if you're playing that. So that's the thing. There's that difficulty. I should look this up, but I think it was either there's two more difficulties past just veteran now, which is always like notoriously hard in Call of Duty games because you're just this massive glass cannon. You're doing the normal damage, but you can take like one shot before you're dead. I think it's Specialist. There's one where you play through the game until you die, and then there's no checkpoints. You restart the game. So
Damn.
that would be interesting to play that and have that risk reward of, do I go on this mission and get this perk that's going to help me out later on, or do I just try to get through and be super cautious?
Or do I throw my PS4 out the window?
Or do I just do I
last
knee drop
mission?
it and just say fuck it? Because I don't know. Like, I think there's two difficulties. I'm probably mixing one up. The other is just super hard. So I don't think I'm gonna go back and play those. I played the campaign. I think I've got enough. But
I was gonna say, like, did you feel like the idea of like you being able to like
sorry, Goob Shoe Riot just chimed in YOLO mode. I'm not. He is right. That's what it's called. Yeah.
I felt that all the the kind of free roam exploration type stuff, I wouldn't even call it exploration actually, but like going into your cabin and being able to like, pull up your monitor and look at the bios of each character. A lot of that serves a cool purpose and it's very unique to the game, but I felt like toward the end, like, are you really checking these things again? Are you checking the board to see what one of these like high commanding officers you killed that are like kind of like what do you even call them, like VIP like
Sure, like
kills,
priority targets kind of.
Some of it was like neat, and then toward the end I felt like it just got real
There's no meaning
pointless.
to it.
There's no
point.
like to have your armory, which is something that you get to as you start a mission. A lot of times it's like it'd be cool to have that on the monitor. I don't know. I felt like they almost they could have gone a little bit further with like some of that like free roaming stuff. I would have liked to have been able to like have more customization. Maybe you could you get all these perks. Maybe you can like choose which ones you want on of 5.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So final question. You play Call of Duty pretty consistently over the past 13 years since it started.
Campaign, the stories, yeah.
Where does this one fit, like rank?
I don't know. It's the campaign story is really great. I don't know if I could rank it. I'd say it's just in like memory, like it's like one of my favorites as far as like characters that you remember like well after, like Ethan, some of those characters, even like Omar or like Saul, like they have a lot of appeal, and you really feel like you've come to know them because of these really great immersion implementations of like constantly interacting them. As you're playing the game, and it's like, hold on, I'm not gonna go kill someone, or I'm gonna wait and hear what this person has to say. That feels like a choice, and that's pretty neat to see these characters grow over time. I am definitely excited to see if they continue this to be a trilogy or whatever. I'd like to see where this goes for sure.
Yeah.
Like I want to know what happened or happens after the end of this game.
Yeah, I think it would be safe to assume that it's going to be a trilogy. I know that was their intent with Ghosts, but then Ghosts wasn't that poorly received at the time. Like, are you looking at Metacritic? It's sitting around like 8 something. But like, despite people's bad memories of it not innovating much, and of course that was like Infinity Ward's first full game after the departures that formed Respawn Entertainment in like 2010 with Vince Zampella and Jason West leaving. But this one definitely didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth at all. I'd encourage people to go try this campaign. I know like it's Call of Duty and there's kind of negativity surrounding that because of the annual release and people think it plays it safe. This campaign, I actually think they took really cool risks with. Highly encourage people, if you're a fan of shooters, definitely. If you just want something to check out, go see how they do this campaign. It's pretty impressive. But yeah. So our review is up on GameSpot. Miguel Concepcion, a freelancer, did it. He gave it an 8 out of 10. You can go read the full thing and watch the video on YouTube or on GameSpot. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Rob, I got to boot you off for this last segment. Thanks for coming on.
I don't want to be here.
Bye. Oh, man. Can you talk about like reviews you're working on now or no?
I mean, there are games coming out soon, right? Like Dishonored and Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah. You're not gonna tell us
Maybe it's one of those. I don't know.
Maybe.
It might be.
Jimmy,
Yo,
how's it going? We brought you on. He's our resident tech editor.
what's going on, right? How you guys doing?
It's going
Not
pretty
bad.
well.
Not bad.
Getting toward the end of the show.
Cool.
Kind of lagging. Need more coffee. But we got big topic to talk about. You published the PS4 Pro review.
That's right.
Was it late last week? Or
No, it was
that
actually Monday.
This Monday, dude.
Monday?
Yesterday.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I just saw it come through edits or something and
Yeah,
assumed
sure.
it was going on Friday. Cool. So I want to talk about kind of like the games that you tried on it and how they look, but also obviously the actual hardware about it. Pete, I'm going to kind of lean on you because you know a lot more about this than I do. You two would probably have more interesting conversation than I would between Jimmy and I. But overall impressions first. Like I was reading your review, which is up on GameSpot. You can go read that right now. You're saying like if you have the extra cash lying around, you have the TV to support it. That's the key thing, right? It's not going to be crazy noticeable if you're just playing on like a regular HD like 1080 TV, right?
So I would say if you have a 4K HDR TV and don't have a console and are looking to buy one, like PlayStation 4 Pro is a must buy, pretty much in my opinion. If you do have a PS4, I generally would not upgrade unless you have an HDR 4K TV and have the extra cash lying around.
So what is it like? There's some things that you and Jake Decker, I believe, went to talk to Mark Cerny about how it's able to run 4K, because there's like a loophole that allows it to run them run it the way it does,
it's like a
right?
shortcut. So they're calling it. So the PlayStation 4 Pro, it can do native 4K in some games. I believe The Last of Us is doing native 4K, but most games are going to be using what they call checkerboard rendering, which is a 4K rendering shortcut that looks pretty close, not quite as good, but is less graphically demanding.
Okay. And how, I mean, is it too like delving into minutia to talk about how it works? Or is that
So
just kinda-
basically, spatially, it takes up the same resolution space as 3840 by 2160p, but it has half the shaders, and it places the shaders in like a checkerboard fashion.
Okay.
And apparently, doing so is an effective shortcut.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So what other, aside from like the HDR, the 4K capabilities, what are any other draws to getting this console aside from like just the visual updates and whatnot?
Yeah, so it depends on how developers want to use extra processing power, but some games could, instead of like pushing a higher resolution and HDR, they could bolster frame rates, for instance. Some games could, run at 60, whereas before they didn't. And some games like Shadow of Mordor push, better graphical fidelity. So it wasn't super noticeable when I tried it on that game, but I did notice extra wrinkles on faces and things like that.
Does it definitely feel like it's fitting into the narrative of like a mid-generation upgrade versus like a new console? Like, obviously, it's not that big of a difference. So that kind of answers the question. But like, as someone who just using a console, it's better than the previous one. Like, where does it fall for you in terms of that identity?
Yeah, I would say it's somewhere in between a traditional console refresh and like a next generation console. It's somewhere in between there.
Well, yeah.
Basically, what I noticed, like from my tests so far, and granted, there weren't too many games that supported the PS4 Pro enhancements, although more are coming, I think, on the 10th when it actually launches. Generally, the thing that I noticed was that you get better anti-aliasing, especially at 4K, although you kind of notice it at 1080p as well. And interestingly enough, colors look different on the PS4 Pro in certain HDR games. And that's interesting because the base PS4 also supports HDR. But with both consoles, running HDR, I noticed that the colors were more vibrant on the Pro still.
Yeah, I was at the Sony Reveal event in New York a couple months ago, and Naughty Dog was there showing both Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us. And when they showed Uncharted 4, it was when Drake was underwater in like a reef, and it appeared to myself and someone else who was it? It was like someone else was saying that it looked like the older footage it looked worse than I remember seeing it. I just played Uncharted 4 in March, and it looked much worse when I saw it on their TV. And then they pressed a button for this build. It was just a button to switch to the PS4 Pro graphics. The colors look much more vibrant, but
yeah,
I just, again, seeing that old footage, like I have to watch our comparison videos. That like you worked on a bunch of comparison videos,
yeah,
right? That's what I want to talk about also. In terms of like we can go back to the hardware side if we want to, but in terms of the games, you mentioned Shadow of Mordor, Titanfall 2, I believe was like released with PS4 Pro support.
It didn't have the patch when I tested it, although I think it's getting it soon.
Okay, interesting. Maybe that's why it took so long to download. Didn't that take like a while to download for you too? Titanfall 2?
Don't remember, man.
Oh, never mind. I thought we had ranted about this. I don't know, something.
But I do believe that. I mean, I wasn't there at the New York event, but I do believe that The Last of Us and Uncharted probably did look as accurate as it did. And that's basically what happens when you look at something that's like marginally better.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the old version, it's like, oh, wow, it actually looked like that. And it's like, try going back and looking at like a 480p like TV. It's like, wow, I actually watched that for like several years. It looks pretty bad now.
Sure. As far as like development side goes, is it up to the developers whether they work to institute the support? Like Sucker Punch has it with Second Son, but that game came out 2013. Same with Shadow Mordor was 2014.
Yeah.
Like some of these games are pretty old, I guess, or like a few years old. Like how do they decide whether to support the games?
Well, if you look back at the conversation you had with Cerny, right? I mean, he kind of stated that like, look, our target for how much extra work this is going to take is like 0.3% of like the
He,
overall.
he
amount of
told
work or
me it
something
was
like
going
that?
to take one programmer roughly 3 weeks.
Right. And so in my mind, and tell me what you think too, like that's probably just because a lot of the times this is just changing a setting in the rendering engine, right? Like it's not really like they're rebuilding the whole game in like, a really intricate way. It's kind of just like, yeah, we'll bump up the anti-aliasing or we'll enable this. And then we just have to bug test it, right?
Yeah, I mean, he
Presumably.
made it sound like they were developing the ecosystem to make it easy for developers to patch.
Right.
And yeah, games will have to be patched to support the pro enhancements. They won't work right out of the box, and because they're giving game developers the freedom to use the extra processing power as they see fit, it can be a bit confusing as to what the games will get with the update. Like I mentioned, some games will have faster frame rates. Some games will, have higher resolution textures, or just basically better graphical settings.
The same dilemma every developer faces when they release their games on console. Like people say a console can't run this game at 30 or at 60 frames per second, X game, and it's like right because the developer wanted the game to look so good that it's then taking up so much power. It's not dependent on the console; it's dependent on the developer.
Yeah, it's confusing me because it seems like an easy win if it would take one programmer 3 weeks to institute this to work on this patch.
Right.
Why
But
would you do it?
What do they want though? Do they want the game to just look pretty, or do they want it to run faster? Like
Right.
At the same time, though, it's like if you've released this game that's like 3-4 years old or whatever, 3 years old, is it worth it to you to go back and send a programmer to spend time like recoding it or whatever, repatching it, because the game's like sitting in bargain bins right now. Is that a good use of your time?
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting question too.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like again, reading your review, you said like overall, if you have a PS4, if you have the the 4K HDR TV to support it, then go for it. It might be worth it, especially if you don't have a PS4. But I don't know. From what we know now I don't know how much this would be speculation, but from what we know of the Scorpio, does it seem like the Scorpio might be a bigger improvement over the Xbox One than this is over the PS4? Do we not even know enough to say yet?
On paper, from what we know, which isn't that much, it seems like it. Also, Microsoft is jabbing Sony, saying it isn't like a true 4K system, whereas theirs is.
Because that's
So we'll
just
see.
actually running like native 4K, right?
That's what they're asserting so far, from what I can tell.
Okay,
So yeah,
interesting.
there's one thing I want to point out about Second Son, which is interesting. It supports HDR, and on the PS4 Pro version, the colors look much more lifelike than the base PS4, but it's not always perfect either, because like the black levels look really black, which is a nice aspect of HDR. But at the same time, it looked almost too dark in certain cases. Like the character would walk in between like dimly lit hallways, and like he'd almost disappear because he's like just covered in shadows.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I could not tell you what that game looks like. Or I played that game. I'd have to really look at the comparison videos, see what the differences are, because I haven't played that in such a long time. It's almost like a remaster, I guess, at this point, to me. But yeah, in general, like, I don't know. Pete, do you think you're going to get a Pro eventually?
yeah, totally.
Oh,
VR.
Do you have a 4K TV or?
Well, no, but the plan is like once I get that TV, yes, I will get that. And like me and my girlfriend have been running the same TV for years, so the time has come. And to actually have a console come out that is like going to support it, like as surprised as I am to see that, that's the impetus for me to actually start thinking about this. I mean, my end goal is to get a TV and get this.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, Jimmy, your PS4 Pro review is up on GameSpot.com. If you're interested in reading that, go check that out. We have a video review for it too.
Yep.
Cool. Video review up on YouTube and GameSpot. So let us know what you think. Are you going to get this? Do you have a PS4? Do you want to upgrade? Do you not even have a PS4 and just want this? What do you think about this compared to the Scorpio? Let us know in the comments below. Jimmy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You have weekend plans?
Probably just hanging out with the girlfriend.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Pete, what about you?
Video games.
Yeah?
Yep.
Working on...
Oh, Overwatch, by the way. I want to play Sombra.
Oh, yeah. Have you tried her yet?
I have not.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I saw Joey and Tay playing her on the live stream. She seems like a character I would like. I like mastering those complicated characters. Zarya is my favorite character. I think she took me a while to.
She seems really OP to me.
Yeah.
From what I can tell.
Yeah, when I'm playing her, she is. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so bad at A, shit talking, and B, Overwatch. So you both don't listen to anything I'm saying.
Gotcha. Trying to get that diamond. That's what I'm chasing. So,
Yeah?
The ranking. Yeah.
Who's your main?
Right now, Zenyatta. Yeah. You're
Nice.
you're Zarya.
Yeah, Zarya, McCree.
Okay.
Yeah, two
Gotcha.
vastly different characters. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're both very good. So both
Yeah.
in the meta, as they say. As the kids say.
Yeah, you're Pete. Well, we're doing extra live this weekend. Extra Life
that's
this
right.
weekend.
Yeah, I'll
which
be
I
doing
wanted-
that too, I think.
Yeah,
on
cool.
Friday.
Yeah, actually, for people watching, for people listening, November 11th, we're starting our Extra Life coverage. We have 72 hours between the Australia office, the UK office, and here in the US in San Francisco. We're going to be playing straight through those. I know Jess McDonald in Australia is going to be ending it, which she usually does. But yeah, Friday, the first half of Friday, we're going to be here in the US, then it's going to go to UK, and then it's come back here for most of Saturday, I think. Regardless, go to Extra Life, search for GameSpot, and you can donate now, starting now. Our goal is 10,000. We beat that handily last year. We're hoping to do the same thing this year. Obviously, like any help you can give would be great. Tune in and watch. I think we'll all be on it at some point, just hanging out, playing games. I think we're leaving it open to the audience suggestions if we want and everything. So yeah, it should be pretty fun. Looking
Money
forward
for
to
the
it.
kids.
Do you know anything you'll be playing?
Definitely some NES classic stuff. I heard you talking about Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've
that'd be good.
Yeah, we've got in the CBSI building, we have like a TV, or we have a TV for each of the sites or something. And it showed like, I think Giant Bomb did like a playthrough of Symphony Night for some reason lately. And I see it every morning when I walk in to get coffee. And I love that game. I think I just like need
I think
to
it's
play
part of
that.
that Vinny Vania series or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I want to play that. But yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for coming on. Pete, as always. Pete, I haven't asked you yet. Do you want
Ask
to
me.
host the show next week?
Do I want to host the show next week?
I will not be here.
I don't think I have much of a choice, do
Cool.
I?
So Pete Brown will be hosting next week. I'll be out of town for a while. We get to talk more about, we're doing a really cool project coming up. We'll get to talk about that more in the coming weeks. But everybody, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.